Crypto markets have been shaken recently, and today we're going to be talking about the price action of Cardano's ADA, taking a look at what's been going on most recently and what I think is likely to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, you know what to do. Hit that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe. I don't think you'll regret it. Okay, let's get right into this. Like Cardano paired up with USDT on the hourly chart. Binance is our data source. Now, following on from the last video that we did here on Cardano's ADA, we were taking a look at this low point. We estimated the low to be approximately 39.56 cents. Now, we did fall a little bit short on that. We came down to this level here at 39.75. So you can see that we basically just were a little bit higher on the price chart than our estimation of 39.56. This actually marks a good reversal point. Let me just get rid of that label there and bring up here. So basically we come up into another ABC structure. Nothing too much about this. It's just short of a double top scenario. And then we break on down. Okay, now what's really interesting about this is the way that we can then go ahead and take our existing lows in this high point up here, this first ABC structure, move it over into our bounce high here. Okay, and we can then actually start to reflect on potentially where we've come down to. At the moment, 88.2%. In fact, this actually is not even a good structured point here. This one is actually more looking like a really small ABC structure. But this looks like a pretty interesting move to the downside. Now, yesterday we saw a lot of volatility. If I go and actually just move this over here for a second, you'll see what I mean. If I pull this in, we end up with this three-wave structure here. Now, we did see this volatility yesterday, and this is actually a pretty interesting one because obviously we saw people kind of not really actively trading until the Fed speech yesterday, in which case prices were moving down, moving up, and then pulling back down again pretty rapidly. So what we saw was basically a surge up, then a push to the downside, and then a bit of a push to the upside, then back down again on the smaller time frames. Now, we're on the hourly, and we obviously have finished this on a bit of a move to the downside. Okay, now we can see here that we have bounced around a fair amount. Okay, and we've got a couple of different ways of looking at this. We could either say that this was our end of our point here and we moved up in 3, then down in 3. I think ultimately we're not done here. Essentially, I think we've got some more room to the downside. Now, on the 1-to-1, this would be 37.62. Which would be a 1-to-1 ratio with the A wave. I'm just going to mark that up briefly, but I still think this is actually going to be a little bit too high on the price chart. I think we're probably going to have to come down a bit lower than this. Now, from here, we can actually take a look at a couple of things. If we were to take a look at this particular bounce here, or even this bounce here, it might even be a better starting point. If I take this, move this over to here, for example, then we can see that we actually did come down on a 1-to-1. We came right down here. Then we've moved up quite progressively, but we are back up in that overbought area on the stochastics right here on this hourly chart. Now, if I come up to the 4-hour, we could actually have a bit of progression, but it's not massive. So there's actually a good amount of upward momentum still here available to us. So looking at it, it looks like actually we might hold this area, but at the same time, I'm not convinced just yet. I'm still thinking there's going to be some volatility here. So let's go ahead and just map in what I did there so it makes it a little bit clearer from the wave counts. So basically, we've come down into here and up and then down. That actually is kind of, you know, a 1-to-1 ratio from that top there. Now, essentially, we're still looking at a potential move to the downside. I don't like this structure. It's not neat because I'm looking at this as a potential 3-wave structure internally here, 1, 2, and then 3 like that. Okay, so I think this is the one that then actually has us as a reversal point. And so I'm going to keep an eye on that. So I'm just going to remove this internal count and I'm going to leave this 37.62 in there for now. Okay, just so we have that kind of macro expectation. There's going to be some volatility in there like we would usually expect. But what I want to do is I want to talk about the gaps that have kind of been left behind here. So we have this this area just on this left-hand side where we moved up really, really rapidly. And we didn't really come back down. We haven't really tested this area here. And this area, as you can kind of see, is falling a little bit short than our 37.62 range. And I think there's a gap in here that's potentially going to get filled. So let's go ahead and actually think about what that might look like. So if I come up and put in a yellow box area, I'm going to put this right in here, then pull it across. So you can see that basically this gap here, we kind of came back down to this low, this point here at 37.77, then we moved up, right? So this tells us that there's going to be some kind of buying activity here, but we also have left behind this entire areas, and we kind of were up here finding the resistance. We then went all the way through and we tested this higher area, but in the middle, we haven't retested. Not since way back here in early October. So when we take a look at it and we think to ourselves, okay, we've got this expectation, we're going to come back down, retest this area. This would be a demand area, by the way, guys, for those who are kind of like looking at things as demand and supply. This would be our demand range. So we'll look at this and come down, retest this area, and then get that move to the upside afterwards. Okay, so our 37.62 happens to be within this range, but I still think we might actually have to consolidate in this range a bit longer, okay, so that we actually fill this gap up. So I would just be looking at that, thinking that this is a potential area that we could revisit on Cardano before we start to move upwards in any meaningful way. We haven't got a good structure. We had the 335 up, we had 3 down, 3 up, and we've got 3 going down at the moment. So we're not trending in any one direction, and so very, very choppy and all that. So for now, it's looking okay, but again, you know, we haven't got a cleared direction just yet. I would be looking at this as a potential WXYXZ taking us down into these lower ranges. I still think that we're going to come down towards the 28.34 cent range and potentially even 22.23 cent at some point in the future. So yeah, I think there's some good discounted rates on Cardano coming for sure, in my opinion. Now, I know that splits opinions. A lot of people, lots of mainstream media or crypto media outlets are telling you that Cardano in a bull run, but there's no trend here from an Elliott wave theory point of view. And Elliott wave theory is tracking participants, and if the participants aren't creating 5-wave trend-based structures, then yeah, it's not in a bull run. So we want to kind of cut through the nonsense, cut through the bullshit, and actually talk about, you know, what's actually going on. I think we've got a retest of our demand zone. This will be somewhere between 36.52 and 37.77 in my opinion. We obviously think that will be an area of reversal. What that looks like, I don't know. It'll probably just be another 3-wave structure. And then at some point, we are talking about moving down into the 28 to 34 cent range again. We've visited here once already. This was a good sniper entry on a little short-term trade that we had. But essentially, I do think we're going to be back into this area, and I think that's going to be a great accumulation zone for Cardano's ADA. Now, if I come up into our stochastics again and come up into our weekly, you can see that we've actually got a decent stochastic RSI. We're not fully where we need to be, though, right? We've still got some progression to the downside on this weekly stochastic RSI. The daily is way up here though, so we do know that there's a big pull to the downside that is highly likely to occur, and we should be preparing ourselves for what that might look like. Okay, nothing moves in straight lines, so do expect some volatility, but essentially we do need to have some kind of major correction here. And the 8 hours actually looking for the upward direction, the 4 hours looking for the upward direction, but the hourly also needs a correction. So essentially across these kind of smaller time frames, we're looking pretty good for some short-term gains, as in we're thinking the price is going up, but on the kind of macro timeframes, we are looking at some downward price action. We're not too far away from where I think things are going to go for Cardano, so we haven't got exactly huge pulls to the downside to occur here, in my opinion, like another 26%, and I would be pretty happy. If we do go down to another to the 22 cent range, then it is a bit more significant, where we're talking about another 43%. But again, you know, this is a macro Y wave. It's going to take a very long time to play out, in my opinion. But for now, I do think we're going to see some small volatility to the downside, and then we're going to be looking for some progression to the upside, taking our 4 and 8 hour stochastic RSIs up to the overbought area, where we can then start to correct down our daily and our weekly stochastic RSIs into the oversold area, lining up with our monthly and waiting for the bull run to start. Timing this is going to be incredibly hard. I'd have no idea how long it's going to take to actually play out. But essentially, I do think that there's some discounts due for Cardano. They're going to be pretty decent, and I do think the bottom of this market is yet to be found. But that's just my personal thoughts and opinions on it. It does split opinions, of course, because some people don't want to believe that the bear market bottom, or the bear market bottom, they do actually believe that it is in. And I don't believe that. And there's many really good, sound, logical reasons for it. And if you want to know more about that, then you can join us on the Twitch stream that will be going out today at 10 a.m. UK time, and we're pretty much every day on Twitch as well. So do check that out if you're looking for more details, understanding what's going on in the background of Bitcoin and the general market conditions, etc. So guys, I'm going to leave this video right there. If you found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Guys, with all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.